Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Meredith, and I am one of your career coaches for American Public University System. Today, I'm excited to present to you about leveraging every advantage of your job search. We all know the market can feel more competitive than ever right now, so that's why this session is all about maximizing your chances of success. We're going to be talking about practical strategies and tools you may already have access to, but might not be fully using. And the goal is to help you take a smart, comprehensive approach to stand out in today's job market. So some of the things that we'll be covering today. This presentation is designed to briefly touch on a wide variety of strategies and tools that can help you optimize your job search. We'll cover things like setting goals, developing a plan, building a strong resume, networking tips, job search tools, and more. So we won't be going into deep detail on each topic because the good news is you don't have to remember it all now. If we talk about something today that sparks your interest or you want to learn more, we have a whole library of in-depth videos available on the APUS Career Services YouTube channel, and you can also find targeted resources in Career Link. Both are great places to dive deeper into any of these topics on your own time. And of course, you also have us, your career coaches, who are happy to meet and talk more about any of these topics with you. So diving in here, whether you're transitioning careers, moving out of the military maybe, or seeking a new role or advancement, a strong job search does start with some self-awareness and self-assessment. So if you can understand your interests, skills, values, and experiences, this will help you navigate the job market with more focus and confidence. When we start with those self-assessments, that can just look like kind of reflecting on some key questions to start with, asking yourself, what do others often rely on me for? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What kind of work energizes me most? What are my core values and interests, or what environments or teams help me thrive? I also really encourage you, don't just ask yourself, but go to friends, family, coworkers, past supervisors even, and see what they say about your strengths and what you bring. You may discover patterns you hadn't noticed or things you never would have expected. We can also explore career assessments like those on careeronestop.org from the U.S. Department of Labor. And what these do can combine your skills, interests, work values, and provide you with some potential job titles or fields that may interest you. So why this matters is doing these types of things really will help you avoid that scattershot application process where it'll help you focus on roles that genuinely match your goals and strengths, while also narrowing down and targeting companies that align with who you are and what you want. When you understand more about yourself too, it makes your application materials more compelling. So your resume, your cover letters, and your interviews will be more clearly articulated. Also, understanding market trends is just as important as understanding yourself. So staying current on changes across industries. For example, right now, with recent reductions in force with our federal agencies, fewer roles may be available at the moment with our federal government. So we have to consider exploring similar roles in adjacent fields or the private sector that mirror the skills and responsibilities that you might have had or been looking for in government work. In short, self-awareness is the foundation of a strategic, confident job search. So it's really important to invest that time to reflect and assess, and hopefully it can really pay off in the long run. So once you have reflected on your skills a bit and your experience and identified maybe a career direction, something we often recommend doing is looking at 5 or 10 jobs and comparing the qualifications and requirements within each. So that's where you can start noticing maybe some similarities, maybe one job keeps listing a specific certification or years of experience they want or a skill. And you might then notice some gaps between where you are and where you want to be. These could be qualifications, tools, certifications, experiences commonly listed in those job descriptions you're targeting. So to bridge those gaps and become a more competitive candidate, consider the following strategies that we mentioned on the slide here, such as developing or strengthening your skills more. This can look like taking additional courses. Sometimes they're free, webinars, exploring short programs, or again, certifications, especially in like our technology fields. A lot of times certifications are highly desired or sought. You can focus on in-demand areas. So depending on your field, this might look like AI literacy or coding or public speaking or data analysis. And you can also consider gaining experience through volunteering. Now, I know a lot of times we think of volunteering right away as like going out in our communities, helping a nonprofit, which is absolutely, that can be part of it, and that's true. But also, if you are still currently in a job, try to take on those stretch projects. Ask your supervisor, ask a manager about opportunities to expand, to gain new skills. Maybe it's leading a project, public speaking, leadership opportunities, taking on, being the leader of a club or something. So take on those additional projects. You may be surprised. A lot of times the opportunities are there and we just have to ask. Building a strong portfolio, that's a big one. We have another video here on our YouTube that talks about building your e-portfolio. So look into that, especially for those tech roles again. And staying current with your industry. This can be, joining affiliations, subscribing to newsletters, following leaders on LinkedIn, podcasts, YouTube channels, educational channels. It also looks like, attending webinars like this or employer-hosted events and conferences. Anything that's helping you learn and preparing you better and making more well-rounded person. These are all parts of investing in yourself. So before diving more into the application process, it's crucial to take some time to set clear goals. This isn't something we should treat as an afterthought. It should be one of our very first steps, even though I think a lot of times we recognize the value of planning. But let's be honest, when the pressure's on, it's easy to skip this part. Doing so, though, can seriously affect the quality and focus of your job search. Quick personal story, I went through a career transition before this position after my time with the federal government. And in the early days of my job search, I made the mistake of diving in without a plan. Getting up early every morning, just opening all the job sites, browsing through, not targeting the roles as well, and also kind of just applying impulsively and then just refreshing my inbox constantly and refreshing to see if more jobs were being posted all day. This wasted time, honestly. So I applied to more positions than I was probably interested in. I didn't always tailor my resume and cover letter as effectively. And so that wasted time and it diluted the quality of the applications I did submit for roles I really wanted. So learn from my experience, start with a strategy. This looks like setting clear, realistic goals, short and long term. So instead of just saying that long-term goal of, I want a job, I need a job, we can narrow it down into some very specific steps, some smaller goals, using the SMART goal model. So this looks like, it's probably something you're familiar with, potentially, but we want these goals that are very specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. You can see in the example there, using an example about tailoring a resume and a cover letter for a job application to align it with skills for the jobs. That's very specific and measurable, and also achievable because we're giving a designated time don't go over an hour or so, and tracking the progress as well as making it time-based. So within the next 4 weeks, we're going to do 5 applications. So you can see the more you break it down, the more you kind of set those specific goals, the clearer picture and plan that you'll have that will keep you going. Other examples, you could talk about researching companies or setting your career goals, reaching out to industry contacts. But again, don't just have them be overall, narrow them down, use that SMART goal model. And also, we want to make sure we're using our time effectively to prevent burnout, to not get overwhelmed or lose momentum. Structure is so important. Having a consistent routine, it doesn't just boost productivity, it also makes sure that our mental clarity is okay, we're staying motivated. So first, establish a consistent routine. This can look like, saying, I'm going to work on my job search for 4 hours a day between these hours, and I'm going to break it up into time blocks. For example, 9 to 10 a.m., research companies. 10 to 11, tailor resume for a specific role, and so on. So there's tools, of course you have your Google Calendar, whatever calendar you use. There's time blocking planners, or you can use a visual calendar, however it helps you organize your day, but try to stick to that plan, because in the end, it's just waste time if you were like me and you just spend the rest of the day still refreshing, going back and forth, not being nearly as effective. So also prioritizing is big. Obviously, if there's a job open you want to apply for and it closes that day, that's going to be a much bigger priority than like looking through LinkedIn or watching a YouTube video. So those types of things are still important, but make a plan at the beginning of each week, and then, you can tailor it to each day if things change. That prioritize your tasks, put them in categories of what's most important, what you need to do when, and then you can time block those out. Tracking your progress is also a really good idea. It not only keeps you organized, but again, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Take those small wins. If you apply for a job, have a little celebration, have a little break. Using Excel spreadsheet, you can use a journal. There's other tools to do this, but log things like how many applications you sent, which companies you followed up with, or interviews scheduled, things like that, even skills you're picking up along the way. And then finally, really evaluate and adjust regularly, because job searching isn't static. So what worked well last month, last week, might not be as effective now. If you're not hearing back from jobs at all, maybe we take a closer look at your resume. Are there any red flags? Is there anything we can do to tailor better? Or maybe it's time to try working on connections more and getting some personal connections with networking and things like that. So building structure is one of the best ways to stay productive and protect your mental energy, especially in a competitive environment. When it comes to optimizing your application, now again, these topics, we could do a whole session on each one. So we're just going to touch on a couple things here. Resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn. These are some of the big things that employers are going to be seeing first. So they do need to stand out and be looking professional. So one of the main tools we have for that is Hiration. That is our AI resume builder that helps build your resume. You still write it, but it does help with the formatting especially, and then it helps give suggestions. The cover letter, there's a template in there as well, and it actually can do a LinkedIn profile review too and offer suggestions as well. So we do have that tool, Hiration. That is a big one, but just some general tips, the days of having a one size fits all resume are gone. Can't just use one generic resume. Unfortunately, for everything, we do stress tailoring. Today, both private and federal resumes are all about relevance and results. So we want to make sure it's not about listing our job duties that we did, responsibilities, but focusing on highlighting your most relevant skills and your quantifiable achievements on your resume. Keep it to 2 pages, using action verbs and leading with the most relevant information. So that if someone just glances at your resume, they're seeing from the top down how you qualify, how your information is most relevant to the job, and only including those type of things. And let's see, tailoring, yes. So incorporating relevant keywords and phrases from the job description. Try to do it as naturally as possible. Don't just copy and paste them in if possible. Incorporate them into your bullet points, into what you did, those achievements and things. Your cover letter, I know that's one that a lot of people are, why do we do cover letters? I hate cover letters. I get it, but also, it goes beyond resumes. It's a chance to tell more of your life story, your story, show your personality, show them why you want to work there and what you know about the company, and highlight maybe a couple of key achievements so that they can just see more of you outside of just the resume. And then LinkedIn, like I said, some studies say that over 80% of employers look at your LinkedIn profile. So make sure to have one that it looks professional, you're using it regularly. There are lots of tips out there to make your LinkedIn stronger. And again, you can use Hydration for that LinkedIn review as well. Or as your coaches, we can help you with it too. Okay, we see this word all the time. Networking, networking, networking. Building, maintaining relationships is huge. That's how honestly, that's how a lot of jobs are given, are achieved is through who you know. They say it, but it is true. So when we think of networking, I think sometimes our minds may go straight to just like LinkedIn and trying to connect with recruiters, strangers. And yes, that can be a valuable part of it, but I encourage you to start more locally and work out of your bubble, your group. It should be easier that way, I would hope. So start with the people you already know, your friends, your family, close acquaintances can be your most valuable network because they know you and they want to help you already. I heard someone tell a story recently where they didn't share that they had lost their job, maybe out of embarrassment or they were just discouraged, but when it had been a while and they'd been looking and looking, and a friend found out that they wondered why they hadn't been told sooner, especially because they had a wide network in the field that they were looking in and could have helped. So don't hesitate to share your goals, your situation, because you never know who might be able to open that door for you. This can also look like reconnecting with past contacts. Reach back out to former colleagues, professors. So it's important, if you are still a student with us, make those connections with your professors now outside of just submitting your assignments, and or coworkers. So sometimes just sending a simple message on LinkedIn or a quick email can rekindle those relationships. We as a university also have quite a few clubs and organizations. If you're not familiar, under your eCampus, under student services and then student life, you'll see clubs and organizations. Lots of active clubs, many meet monthly or are active on LinkedIn or Facebook, it depends, and it's a great way to meet people and network. Social media, of course, is still huge, a powerful tool if you use it intentionally. So you can follow companies that you're interested in. You can actively engage with their content and, share even your own insights or experiences. So that helps build credibility and you get noticed. You also consider joining affiliations or industry-specific LinkedIn groups to meet people in your field. And finally, mentorship and guidance. So finding a mentor can be a game changer. You can find them through, again, we have CareerLink, where we have our alumni and our peer-to-peer now mentorship program. So I highly recommend checking it out, look into it more. You can look at getting a mentor maybe through one of those industry groups, even LinkedIn. But again, reach out to your close community first, because Mentors can be friends, they can be coworkers, past supervisors. Again, these people are the ones that can help you refine your job search approach, help grow your network, and give that honest feedback on your materials and skills. When it comes to looking for jobs, a lot of times we go immediately to those known sites like Indeed, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, and while those are great starting points, they do only show part of the picture. So to really maximize our chances and uncover more opportunities, we want to go beyond the obvious. So these are a couple suggestions here on the slide. Career fairs. The university itself, we have multiple virtual career fairs every year, so please check CareerLink, look at the upcoming events, career fairs, employer-hosted events. But there's also usually career fairs in your communities, in your cities, and other virtual ones as well that employers, companies put on. So keep an eye out for those, or of course, affiliations, conferences, things like that. Company websites is another big one because not all companies do put their jobs on Indeed and those job sites, or they might, but they sometimes put them on a little later. So if you're following those companies, like if you have a list of like top 5 companies you want to work for, look at their website regularly and check their job availability because it might come open sooner too. You might be able to apply sooner than others. There's, of course, industry-specific job boards that you can look up for your industry, as well as cold calling or cold outreach. That probably sounds a little intimidating, but if you find a company or role that you're excited about, don't be afraid to reach out. Send a short, thoughtful message. It could be on LinkedIn, it could be, email, but keep it short, introduce yourself, mention what excites you about the company or role, highlight maybe 1 or 2 ways you could add value, because you'd be surprised how often this does lead to a response and maybe even an interview, especially if your timing is right. And then lastly, referrals. These can significantly increase your chances of landing an interview. Again, it's like what they say, all about who you know. So if you know someone at a company or have a mutual connection, if they're willing to make an introduction or even submit your resume internally, that is huge. Just make sure to be respectful in your ask, make it easy for them, include a short message or summary they can pass along. All right, so these strategies can help you uncover hidden opportunities, but we also have something to talk about in the next slide, kind of our smart assistant to help with all of this. How can AI tools support us? AI, of course, is becoming a powerful tool in many areas of life. Job searching is no exception. But here's the key. It's not there just to do all the work for you. It is there to assist. You still want that human voice. You still want to be the one writing your resume, your cover letter, and it can assist with many things, but still want to be included. Absolutely. Employers will recognize if you let it do it all for you. So here's some ways that it can assist. So think about, let's start with matching skills, interest, and experience to job titles. So earlier we were talking about our self-reflection. Maybe you have a couple job titles in mind, but you're still wondering what else, or you want to kind of broaden it more. You can either put in the job titles and ask what are some similar ones, or you can ask, you can actually put in your background, your skills, interest, and past experience, and ask AI what you're most qualified for or what it may recommend as jobs you might be interested in. Now, again, don't think like, okay, those are the only ones now that I should look at, but it is a great tool to just at least help you think about things. Another way you can use your resume is with job match and keywords. So 2 ways we can do that. You can put your resume in into AI through either, for example, I have Copilot on the screen there because that is a tool included for students through your Microsoft 365 in your classes. And also, of course, there's lots of other AI tools out there. You might have your favorite, so go with that. You can put it in, and you can also put in a job description and ask it to identify any gaps. Maybe there's specific certification software skills that keep coming up, so it can help with that part like we discussed. It can also even provide suggestions on how you can better improve your resume to meet the job description. Another thing it can do is interview preparation, which is what we're going to be moving into next. So you could paste a job into AI and ask it to generate common interview questions for that role. It's a great way to anticipate what might be asked and practice more effectively. So again, it might not know all of them. It might not even get it because maybe, they won't know for sure, but a lot of times you might end up hearing some of the same exact questions in an interview. Into interviews, it seems like when it comes to interviews, we don't always put as much thought into that portion of the job search process. Maybe because we think there isn't much to prepare or that we don't know what they'll ask, so what is there to do? But as we learned with the last slide, we can come up with a list of potential questions, and we can also use things like the STAR method to pull together these compelling stories from our previous jobs, from our previous experiences, to have ready for when those types of behavioral questions are asked. The kind that start with like, tell me about a time when, ... So the STAR method, what it does is it breaks it down. It allows us to have a structured answer without rambling, without not knowing what we're going to say, because it breaks it down into these 4 areas: our situation, task, action, and result. And you can see the example on the slide there. But basically, the situation, we're going to start by thinking back to a previous time. If they ask a question, start by setting the scene. Think about the context, where you're working, what the project or challenge was. Then describe the specific goal or responsibility you were tasked with. That's the task part of it, what needed to be done. The action, that's the heart of the story. That's where you'll spend most of your time in answering. So what did you do? Walk them through that process step by step, being specific to hear how you approach the situation. And then you have that result, sharing the outcome. Ideally pick a positive outcome, but if it didn't go perfectly, you can also share what you learned. And if you can quantify it, that helps as well. Did you save time, increase efficiency, or improve results? Going beyond that, though, you can do some additional things go hand in hand with the STAR method. First, research. Learn about the company and the role you're applying to. Their mission, values, maybe upcoming projects they're working on, what skills do they prioritize. This will help you tailor those stories ahead of time to the company and the role. So next, you can assess your experience. Think about moments where, again, you're going back to these stories. What was the time you solved a problem or led a team, adapted to change, or dealt with conflict? Those common questions, those common areas that they cover in interviews. Pick stories that showcase the core skills that are listed in the job description for each one. And then practice. We do not want it to sound memorized per se, but practice, because it'll allow for a more smooth, natural delivery. And these stories that you'll just be able to pull out of your pocket ready to go when these questions start coming up, which are kind of the most common questions now that we see in interviews. You can practice with a friend, a mentor, career coaches. We do the mock interviews for students and our alumni. So hearing yourself out loud and then talking through the questions with someone and getting feedback is really helpful ahead of time. And then it doesn't end there. So once the interview is over, make sure to follow up. Send a thank you email, even a note if you can, but you do want to get to them quickly. So send a thank you email within a day or so. If you can get the names and emails of everyone who was on the interview panel, try to do it with every single person with a few thoughtful sentences. You know, mention something personal that you talked about in their interview, whether it's something you really like about the company or a project you're excited to help with if you were hired. And yet, staying in touch, even if you don't get the role, is really smart because a lot of times, additional roles open, or maybe even that first person they hired didn't work out and they want to hire you now because you built that relationship. And they have you in mind now because you had a warm, positive interaction. So as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this. It's not all about landing the job. It's not just about that. It's finding the right fit for who you are. That's where that self-reflection really comes in and where you want to go. And that does take some intention and strategy and persistence. We've talked today about building a solid foundation through that reflection and setting clear goals, managing your time, networking with purpose, and making the most of tools like AI. These steps aren't just checks boxes. They are the advantage you could have in this competitive market. So you don't have to have everything figured out, but these small, consistent actions do add up. And don't forget to take advantage of everything Career Services has to offer. All the things listed on this slide, we offer. We offer one-on-one coaching, the tools that I've been mentioning, resume reviews, mock interviews, lots of webinars going all the time. So check out our upcoming events in CareerLink and make sure to reach out. You can email us or give us a call at the information provided on this slide because we would love to help you and support you in every aspect of your job search. Thank you and have a wonderful day.